Hello everybody, welcome back to Election Watch. It's a by-election results video. They're all counted now. Essex took a little while to get the result in, but they're all declared now. So we're going to look at the results of these 6 by-elections this week. Just before we do, channel's now rolling up towards 5,000 subscribers, which is extraordinary. Thank you again for joining and coming along. Wasn't expecting this to happen so quickly, but it's been fantastic. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take the opportunity now to do so. Look, if you're into UK politics, I don't think there's a channel on the site on YouTube doing this kind of coverage and this kind of content. So yeah, if you're into UK politics, please do come and subscribe. Hoping this can become a community of people. And by the way, what I love with your comments, guys, when you comment on the videos and you say, look, this is the situation where I live, because I can go on where I live. I know the general feeling where I live, and I can look at the data that we all look at together on these videos, and that's fine. But what I don't know is how things are going, or how the feelings are in a part of the country completely opposite to where I am, and everything in between. And actually, one of you commented on the last video, the by-election preview video for this week's by-elections. One of you commented and said, after I'd said, look, St Helens, I think Reform will struggle to win there. One of you commented and said, just don't count Reform out in St Helens. We feel pretty confident. And that's a brilliant segue into our first by-election result of the night. So Reform won in St Helens. Look, in all fairness, I did say don't write them off, because I think Reform is the party with the wind in their sails at the moment. I think kind of anything's possible for them, really, at the moment. And they have all the momentum. But I did think, with the Greens having finished second in this ward previously, I thought that the Greens may make hay out of Labour's losing votes. We saw that in Cardiff last week, and we saw it in Sefton in Liverpool a few weeks ago, where Reform were the biggest beneficiaries. But no, where Greens were the bigger beneficiaries from Labour's decline. But no, look, Reform from a standing start all the way up to 40% of the votes. Now look, very low turnout, 16%. Which unfortunately is typical for a local by-election. Look, if you watch these videos, I hope you vote in whatever election that it is. Small rant, but look, we have very low turnouts in UK elections, even up to parliamentary elections, and I know that's because a lot of people feel totally fed up and they feel that the system doesn't listen to them. At least if you go and at least just spoil your ballot paper, at least you've marked. You've sent a message to some extent. You've registered your protest. You've registered your discontent. If you just sit at home and don't vote, it counts for nothing. So I hope you go and vote. We need more people taking part. Although if people don't take part in democracy doesn't work. So look, that's the rant over. Anyway, I hope you go out and vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for. You can vote for whoever you like, but make sure you go and take part. Anyway, very low turnout. That would help Reform, of course. But again, look, Labour down 20%. The Greens even went down 15% this time. And the Tories down 10% as well. And Reform is lapping votes up from all over the place. So, yeah, look, a remarkable result for Reform in St Helens. They are polling, as we looked in the nowcast, they are polling second in St Helens North constituency. But 15% behind the Labour Party there. And that's why, the nowcast voting isn't a perfect proxy for local elections. You just can't necessarily tell these things. But that was a good result, a brilliant result for Reform in St Helens. Barnsley, I think, is also a good result for Reform. Now, if you watch the preview video, I said, look, it's a Lib Dem ward. That probably means it's unlikely Reform can win. If it's a place that's liable to vote for the Lib Dems, not really Reform's target audience. But I did say, with Reform polling a very close second, I think 6% behind in Penistone and Stocksbridge constituency, where this ward falls, a great result for Reform would be beating Labour into second fairly comfortably. And look, they did that. Again, Labour's vote down almost 20%. Reform, from a standing start, go from 0 to 20, almost 25% of the vote, almost a quarter of the vote. And look, they finished way behind the Lib Dems, but I think, like I said, I think that's fine for them. I don't think they're worried about that, about winning. But I think in the context of being very close behind Labour in the parliamentary constituency voting, the polling suggesting that, to see in an actual election, Reform have beaten Labour by 8% here, I think they'll be happy with that. And I think that's very encouraging for Reform. I think it's very worrying for Labour. And again, with the St Helens result and this one, just the alarm bells must be going in Labour HQ that they're just getting eaten into in parts of the country where, you know, the Tories have never been voted in, or have never done particularly well, and probably never will do particularly well. Reform is able to win voters that the Tories never could and probably never will, and that's a real big problem for the Labour Party. Into Essex then, again, this is another one where I said it would be brilliant, a fantastic result if Reform could overturn the Tories. They haven't. I said it would be a good night if they pushed them close. If you're from Essex, particularly if you're in the constituency of Malden, or you're in Stock Division, even better. If you know the goings on, the feelings on the ground, let me know in the comments, because I don't have that info. I wonder if Reform might be a little bit disappointed they didn't push the Tories a bit closer here. You know, they're just over 10% behind, which is a very good result from 0 to 35% of the vote. Again, a party that at the moment really doesn't have a ground game, as it's called. You know, they're still building that up. They don't have really, you know, a big pool of activists to draw upon. They don't have much in the way of finances yet, at least. So it is a good result for them to go from 0 to 35%. I wonder if, because like I said in the preview video, they did have Nigel Farage on the ground campaigning here. I wonder if they would have liked to push the Tories a bit closer than 12% behind. But I think it's a good result for them. I don't think they'll be too disappointed with this. And look, Essex County Council is up for election in the normal cycle in May. It's one of the county councils that will be being voted in May. And it's going to be a key battleground for Reform versus the Tories. I think Essex and Kent, both of those on the East Coast, are going to be a really interesting battle between those two. So I think that's three good results for Reform. I think they'll be pretty happy with that. Obviously, they'll be ecstatic with winning St Helens, and I think the other two is positive for them. On to Wakefield, and I said it would be a bad night for Reform if they don't push Labour close in Wakefield. Now, the Lib Dems were not on my radar here, and again, this is another pitfall of using the nowcast constituency polling to try and analyse and get an idea of what might happen in local elections. The Lib Dems were not on my radar at all. Yeah, I didn't account for that. I couldn't account for that really because I didn't have the knowledge. So seeing that in hindsight, and seeing, because of course you can see the Lib Dems were new here, they hadn't stood before. So clearly this is a ward that is predisposed, I suppose, to voting for the Liberal Democrats. So the same story as Barnsley. That therefore makes it a natural headwind for Reform and the demographics. And look, in all fairness, I had seen in the last week or two, I had seen on social media things about the Barnsley election from Reform. I had seen Reform accounts talking about the St Helens election, and I had seen a lot, of course, about the Essex election. I hadn't seen anything about Wakefield, so perhaps Reform on the ground in Wakefield knew they were up against it. I didn't know that. Again, if you're from Wakefield, if you're from this area, from Featherstone Ward, yeah, let me know. Is this a disappointing result for Reform, or is this expected? I think, having seen the Lib Dems do quite well, I think it probably was expected. But again, look, let's be fair. Given that new information, 0 to 22% of the vote, not bad. And look, I think the story from this one, really, Labour win, but look at that vote share again, down 31%. It's the third week in a row, I think, now that we've seen Labour's vote collapse by almost a third in an area of the country where they should be safe. So again, just alarm bells going off all over Labour HQ, or I think they should be. Right, the last two aren't very interesting. Ottershaw, I said there'd be a pretty good chance the Independent would win here, and they have very comfortably. Conservatives down, Lib Dems up. The Lib Dems pushing Conservatives quite close. They're only 2% behind or 3% behind. Again, Surrey County Council, where Runnymede is. Surrey County Council is up for election in May, and I think the Liberal Democrats will be the Conservatives' biggest opponents in Surrey. I think they may well do quite well. Of course, they did fantastically well in the general election just gone. So I think encouraging for the Liberal Democrats to see their share of the vote increasing a lot, and you can see it looks like they've pretty much taken their votes directly off of Labour. Reform from 0 to 10 is not bad. I did say I didn't think Reform would be up to much here. That I don't think Surrey is Reform's target market at all. I don't think it's going to be an area of particular hope for them or targets for them. So I think not bad going from 0 to 10. They beat Labour. I think that's something, but I don't think they're going to get too much joy in Surrey. And lastly was Chelmsford City Council. I said the Tories would win this easily. I was hoping I wouldn't be made to look a fool, and I absolutely haven't. They've increased their vote share to a tremendous 81%. None of the others even close. Interesting to see the Greens come in straight away into second place there. But yeah, no reform stood here, so I did think it would be a pretty easy win for the Conservatives, and so it was. So that's all the by-elections for this week. Look, Labour have now defended 88 seats, successfully held on to 57 of them, and they've won 6 more from elsewhere, so they're on 63. But I think the really telling picture from this is if we move across to the vote share side, just look at that decline in Labour's vote from before the general election. This is, as you can see in the title, this is the share of the vote in local or by-elections from before the general election to now. And look, you can just see 33.2% for Labour before the election, down all the way to 24.7%. So they've gone from a third of the vote before the general election to less than a quarter of the vote now. But look, it's not that the Tories have roared back to life. You know, they had 23.3% before. Well, they've only improved by less than half percent to 23.7%. Of course, no, it's that very steep gradient line of reform down the bottom here that's really done the damage to Labour. And you can see they've gone from 0.2% before, because of course before the general election they'd barely stood in any by-elections and didn't get much of the vote when they did, to now, okay, the 7.4 seems like a low number, but that's because, again, they haven't contested nearly as many as Labour and the Tories have, or the Lib Dems or anybody else for that matter. So they've gone from 0 essentially to 7.5%. They're the ones that are taking votes off of Labour. That's why the alarm bells need to be ringing. And look, we can see that if we scroll down to this is this week's vote share changes in these boards. Look, you can just see it. We look kind of at it, but Barnsley at the top there, 18.5 down for Labour, 24% for Reform, up 24% for Reform. In St Helens, Labour down 18%, Reform up 41%. I can't remember what this last one is actually, but 31% down for Labour here, 21% up. Oh, that's in Wakefield, 21% up for Reform, and of course the Liberal Democrats did well there as well. So look, the wind is in the Reform Party sails. That's not news at this point. Labour really need to staunch this flow of votes away from their party, because the local elections is going to be interesting, because the Tories are defending a lot and Labour would hope to make a lot of gains, but at the moment I just don't see that happening. Which brings me on to a little segue at the end of the video here. Look, I didn't expect the channel to do so well so quickly, so I didn't have a plan of where it was going to go really. I was and am just sort of plodding my way through. Now, we've got the local elections coming up in May of next year. The plan is, at the turn of the year, I will start doing more content that's looking, kind of building up to those elections. And what I would like is your input into what form you would like that to take. At the moment, I'm thinking I'll probably build it into a Nowcast video. So I'm going to keep doing the Nowcast videos that I've been doing. They're very popular. You guys seem to love them. And I'll work into those videos, sort of getting an idea of how the various counties are kind of that are coming up for election, how they are moving, what direction they're looking in, and who's looking likely to make hay. That's my plan at the moment. If you've got an idea that you would like to see, leave it in the comments, and I'll try and give thought to as many as I can, and try and work in as many as I can. Which brings on to the next point of order, which is that a bit of personal news. My wife's expecting our first child in the new year, so it may well go quiet for a few weeks afterwards. Like I say, I didn't expect this channel to do so well, so I don't have a studio, I don't have a setup or anything like that. I am just sat down the end of my living room in front of my computer with a microphone that a friend kindly gave to me a few years ago. I'm not set up for this at all, really. So when the baby comes along, I'm going to have a think about how it works with baby around and my wife at home on maternity and all that stuff. So bear with me. In that vein, when it goes, if and when it goes a bit quiet on the channel in terms of videos, I do have an X account. This is it. Sorry, I had my screen wrong. This is the X account. So if you use X, please do go and follow. Over there, as you can see, I don't really use it at the moment. As you can see, it's only got 30 followers. So I haven't really. What I've been doing is just retweeting the results and the polling numbers and what have you. You can see there that it's just retweets and retweets, and that's it. So I don't really use it, but if you use X, please do come and follow the channel over there. I'll then use it a bit more to try and keep you in the loop when things go quiet on the channel for my personal reasons. Yeah, that's all for this video. Like I say, leave your comments down below. I'd love to know how you want the channel to progress. Like I say, I want this to be a community, so I want you to have your input. Leave your comments, let me know what you want to see, and I'll do my best to accommodate those and listen to you. I'll give you my feedback if I can as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.